Hi, I'm Taylor with Mom on the Spectrum, and April is Autism Acceptance Month. So I wanted to celebrate by talking about what is neurodiversity and then exploring some general neurodivergent traits. If you're new here, I want to make sure before we dive in that you know about my ultimate guide to understanding autism. This is a totally free resource. It's a list of 40 terms that I've compiled and defined that can help late diagnosed autistic adults better understand life on the spectrum. So that is yours for free, link in the description. With that being said, let's start out with a definition of neurodiversity. This is a definition I like from corticacare.com. Neurodiversity comes from combining the words neurological and diversity, and it refers to the differences among all people and how our brains work that cause us to experience and engage with the world around us in different ways. Neurodiversity also embodies the viewpoint that these differences in neurology and behavior are not deficits or deviations, but there's no single right way of thinking, behaving, or being. This term has been life-changing for me since I first learned it about 5 years ago when I started exploring my place on the autism spectrum. And it's been so empowering to understand that there's no one right way to process the world around us. And the strengths of neurodivergent people are really incredible, and it's something to be admired and included in our society rather than continually misunderstood and trying to reroute us into doing things the way that neurotypicals do them, right? So the more light we can shed on neurodiversity, I think the better off our society is in how we're able to incorporate different viewpoints and different ways to problem solve and different ways to see the world around us. It's a really beautiful thing. Let's jump into some neurodivergent traits. You may have heard me say, if this is not your first video here on the channel, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person, which just means that all of our experiences are different. So you might resonate with everything on this list. You might resonate with only a couple of things on this list, but you might still be neurodivergent. So let's explore and let me know in the comments which ones you resonate with and which ones you would add to the list. The first one is sensory differences. So neurodivergent people often experience input through our senses in a different way than other people. We might be hypersensitive or hyposensitive to the input we receive through our ears, eyes, nose, mouth, skin. So some of us, people in the community have said that they can hear electricity in the walls, okay, hypersensitive to sound. Or it can be the opposite direction of like sometimes you might not feel like super intense touch. You might not register pain or really intense touch because you are hyposensitive, you're undersensitive to it. So we have all different expressions of sensory experience. The second thing on the list is executive functioning challenges. This one drives me crazy. So executive functioning happens within the prefrontal cortex of our brain. This is where we plan, execute, organize, follow through. This is my biggest area of frustration as an autistic person. So executive functioning challenges for sure are, generally speaking, a very common neurodivergent experience. The third one on the list is the ability to hyper-focus on special interests. Or I also want to include this, just random whims we have to learn about something. Okay, so autistic people randomly will be like, I need to figure out how to create a windmill. And then overnight we'll like become an expert on how to do it. And, the people in our lives are like, whoa, that's a lot of information. Okay. Speaking of, we're really good at info dumping. I could add that to the list. So we're really good at hyper focusing on things that we are very interested in. And sometimes that's really annoying. Sorry, not sorry. The fourth thing on the list is an intense experience of emotions without maybe having the words to describe what's going on. So you may be familiar with a term called alexithymia, which is the inability to put words to emotions. So neurodivergent people often have very big emotional experiences. We might have trouble regulating those emotions. Like we might get very upset very quickly and then have a really hard time coming down from that and then not have any words to describe what's going on. It's not as fun as it sounds. It doesn't sound fun. It's not fun. The fifth thing on the list is that oftentimes neurodivergent people, especially autistic people, need a lot of alone time to recharge. We tend to do better with time in isolation because this helps us process and regulate. So sometimes this can come across as a little off-putting, or maybe people feel like we're kind of shunning them or not wanting to spend time with them. Really, we just need that alone time to come back to a place of stability and balance. The sixth thing on the list is not fun either: rejection sensitive dysphoria. So nobody likes being rejected, but neurodivergent people especially can have a very hard time receiving any form of criticism or feedback. It sometimes can shut us down to the point that we just can no longer focus on anything, and we have to figure out a way to regulate because we're totally shut down with the feedback that we just received. So if that sounds like something that you've experienced maybe in a relationship or in the workplace, make sure that would be a good rabbit hole to go down for research. Look into rejection sensitive dysphoria to help you make more sense of those experiences. The seventh thing is demand avoidance. So this term is also very resonant within the neurodivergent community. Demand avoidance, I mean, nobody really likes to be told what to do, right? Nobody likes to hear, hey, go clean your room. But for neurodivergent people, again, it can kind of shut us down. It can get us emotionally dysregulated. I love some of the conversations that are happening around this term right now for demand avoidance, because demand avoidance can also be seen through the lens of desire for autonomy. Okay, so neurodivergent people, a lot of times we want to have control over our environment and what we say yes to and what is expected of us. So demand avoidance, another very helpful term to explore. The eighth general neurodivergent trait is a preference for routine, structure, and organization. That one's self-explanatory. The ninth one on the list is covert stims. So you've probably seen that autistic people stereotypically have like big outward stims of like hand flapping or rocking or bouncing. But neurodivergent people in general stim covertly a lot of times, either by tapping or blinking or playing with your fingers, fidgeting, scrunching your toes in your shoes, because there's a lot of pent up energy within our body, a lot of processing that's happening. And it's this buildup of internal energy that has to come out somehow. And one way that we can move that energy through our body is through stimming. And then the last one on the list, delayed processing. So how many of you have ever been in a conversation and you left the conversation and then it kind of hit you like, oh, I don't think we were talking about what I thought we were talking about, or I don't think I said what I meant to say. A lot of times we have to leave a situation and have time in isolation, as mentioned, in order to better understand how we really think or feel about a situation. This can lead to a whole host of interesting challenges. So these are just 10 very general neurodivergent traits that show up within our community. Like I said, let me know in the comments which traits are resonating with you the most and which ones you would add to the list. And then don't forget to check out my ultimate guide to understanding autism for free, link in the description below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.